Welcome to the Divorce View Talk Show. You can find us at divorceview.com. Hi, it's Joanie Winberg, CEO of the National Association of Divorce for Women and Children, and also the facilitator of How to Emotionally Survive Divorce, an online course. It's always my pleasure and honor to do this show together with my co-host, Rosalind Zudeck. Hello, Roz.
Hi, Joanie. Good to see you. I'm Rosalind Zudeck. I'm recognized as the voice of child-centered divorce, the founder of the Child-Centered Divorce Network, and author of How Do I Tell the Kids About the Divorce. And we have two guests today who are wonderful resources for helping us understand the complexity of divorce, especially when children are involved. I know you're going to get a lot of value out of the show. Joanie, why don't you introduce our guests?
Absolutely, and I want to let our listeners know it's a really good topic today, too, that we're going to be talking about. Are the divorce courts helping or hurting children after divorce? So really excited to bring our guests on and jump right into this topic. So I'd like to welcome Perri Teitelbaum as well as Michelle Zudeck. And welcome, ladies. Thrilled you are here, and I hope, Perri, I pronounced your name okay.
Yeah, thank you, Joanie. Happy to be here.
So tell us a little bit about yourselves as far as how you have, in fact, you have a fabulous organization that I want everyone to know about. Let's talk about that, and then how did you come about as far as doing what you're doing here?
Yes, thank you. We actually started to think about some of the resources that were needed for this particular area. When I was going through my separation about four and a half years ago, I was looking online and trying to find things that would help me personally. I had some unique challenges, as most divorces do. So for me, it was very frustrating because I really was not able to get the help or the support or the guidance or have a sense of community that I felt I could really help get me through some of the stresses of going through my separation. So I got frustrated and quite angry, obviously, and I decided to kind of put something together, myself. I reached out to a few friends of mine. One, person, Michelle Zudeck, who I've known for many years, has been in the industry of social media and web content. And I talked to her a little bit about my idea, and she thought it was great. So we were kind of off on our way, and we've been in development for the last 4 years, and we did our relaunch about 10 weeks ago, and the site has just taken off, and we're very pleased with all of the focus and attention that we're getting on it.
Excellent, excellent.
The name of your site?
It's www.lifethroughdivorce.com, and it's LIFETHRUDIVORCE.
Wonderful.
Great. Michelle, I'd like to say hello and bring you on, and also what interested you to start this with Perri?
Hi there. Thanks for having us. Well, when I went through my divorce about almost 8 years ago, my situation was very different. It was very amicable. So I really wasn't aware of all the horrors, and especially involving children in the court, because I did not go through any of that, thankfully, at all. But I was aware of what Perri was going through. And so when she told me that there were no resources, she had nowhere to turn, and my background has been in digital media my whole career, and she said she wanted to start the site, I said I definitely would like to do this with you, and I'm sure for every story that there is like mine, I am in the minority, so there are many more stories like Perri's, so I really wanted to get out there and help as many people as possible.
Well, that's great. I'm glad that the two of you are doing this. And once again, I'm excited about the topic because we do hear those horror stories, and a lot of it is, during and after, or through the process going through divorce in court. And maybe these are where a lot of the people's stories come from, and that's why we wanted to talk about are the divorce courts helping or hurting children probably during and after divorce. So let's just talk about that. What's the interest there that really is compelling for you to want to talk about this?
Well, I think for me personally, I did go through the court system. And it is my belief that really the family court systems are really not equipped to handle issues relative to children. And I'm not saying that, and I don't mean that in a very negative way, but if you think about it logically, the courts really aren't set up or equipped to handle specific situations that may be a little bit more unique or challenging regarding children. So I think for handling divorces when there are kids involved, our perceptions are, let's try to do it a little bit more amicably, take it out of the court system, make the best decisions that you can for your family, instead of having a stranger who really knows nothing about your family situation, your family dynamics, personalities, emotions, just don't let somebody you don't know make decisions that are going to have an impact on your family for years to come. So for us, it's a really powerful topic, and we talk to people every day about this. And we do hear horror stories where the courts really make bad decisions and bad judgments only because they just aren't equipped to handle this kind of stuff.
Do you think it's also like a cookie cutter type thing? Okay, split this time sharing there together, visiting, so forth. It's just
Yes.
50-50, so that's not taking into consideration the whole big picture. Is that what you're talking about too?
Absolutely, because really, when again you're in court, so really, what they look at is the law, and the law is pretty, it's kind of cut and dry. There's really no variables to the law. You can't change it. You can interpret it, and there could be variations to those interpretations, but it's really, at this point, especially here in Florida, it's 50-50, presumed 50-50, unless there is unique circumstances that really must be proven. And that's kind of where it gets a little shaky too, because you go to court, and again, in my opinion, it's kind of like a three-ring circus. It's really about who puts on the best show, and it's, in my opinion, it doesn't help the children. Their voices don't get heard, especially when they're old enough to articulate clearly some things that they may be able to. So it's it could be very harmful instead of helpful.
As founder of the Child-Centered Divorce Network, this is also the area that I feel so compelled to reach out about, and what I try to do is help families prevent even getting into the courts if they can, avoid litigation, avoid letting the courts have the opportunity to make these life-changing decisions on behalf of your family, because as well-meaning as anyone in the legal system may be, they don't know your family. They don't know the nuances and the subtleties of what works and doesn't work in your family. And so that's why we so encourage mediation or collaborative divorce or any means of cooperating, bringing in a team of mental health counselors and financial planners and attorneys who are very child-focused, so that we're understanding that this is a family situation and this isn't a legal deal. Once you're dealing with custody issues and letting a judge make a decision, you really can be setting yourself up for a lot of pain and powerlessness.
Would you say that's why you hear the horror stories of a lot of people going back to court, because it wasn't really settled well to begin with, and maybe that's leading, piggybacking off of what you've also been saying, Perri, with the conflict and the not understanding the situation?
Yeah, I mean, there's probably more post-divorce issues than really. I don't even know if we should call it pre-divorce, but there's so many post-divorce issues that happen because of poorly written parenting plans, poorly written holiday and time-sharing schedules, people not following things, and it creates more anger in the family. And again, when you have children, they're put in the middle, not by choice. So you take a situation that could have been so low conflict, and now because of all these different issues that have come up, it becomes a very high conflict situation. And I just think it's just poorly managed. And again, going back to court is a scary thing because you never know what a judge is going to decide, and it really doesn't help the situation.
Plus, it's costly.
Very, absolutely, very.
And most of these issues are not black and white. I mean,
No.
life is full of gray and subtleties, and talking to a mental health counselor or someone who's a really caring, conscientious mediator is going to get into some of those subtleties as opposed to letting attorneys who are just trying to look at black and white legal issues. The outcome is not satisfying. I've always said that divorce shouldn't really be in the legal courts. It should be a process coming out of the mental health system, and it would be a lot healthier for everyone involved. However, we are stuck with the reality that we're stuck with, and so you ladies have put together a resource to help families unravel a lot of the maze, and we're delighted to know about the resources that are part of your services and website. So why don't you tell us a little bit about what you offer and what people can find at Life Through Divorce?
Sure. Well, basically, the website really deals with every part of one's life because, as we all know, divorce does pretty much, participate in all those things. You have legal issues, you have financial issues, health and wellness. We have real estate. We have travel. We have pretty much everything that encompasses one's life because divorce really does attach itself to that. Going through such a negative situation is very stressful for people, so it affects you obviously from a health perspective. But we really wanted to make something where people can go, they can feel very safe and secure, and talk with credible resources and professionals that can give them some support and guidance and help them, with understanding some of the things that they're going through. They can connect with other community members that maybe have gone through some of these things, which was really very important to us because that was something I didn't have that I was looking very much for. We do have a kids zone section, which is a really critical part because, again, the kids really never get heard. It's never their voices. It's never really what they go through, what their perceptions are. So that's something that's really important to us, really, having parents understand how this has an impact on their children.
I was going to ask too, Michelle, as far as I know you said yours is quite amicable, and so this website would still be supportive for people like yourself who didn't go through the court system but still want to have a feeling of community. Would you say?
Yeah, because like Perri said, even after I was divorced, I had to deal with issues that I really didn't have a huge role in beforehand, like selling my house, getting my ex off the mortgage, finding a new one, buying a new car, all these things that really I didn't do as the sole, person. I had to be the sole person. So where I could, draw on my family members for support and guidance, I would also go into a website like Life Through Divorce and say, okay, how do I get a mortgage? When's the best time to sell my house? Where should I take my first trip with my kids alone? So, even if you're going through an amicable divorce, you still have to contend with your life.
Everyday stuff.
Everyday stuff and your kids' stuff. And should I send them to sleepaway camp? What happens on visiting day? Do we both go? And so all those kind of things, they happen. They happen whether you have an amicable divorce or a contentious one. So I think the website really is, helps you with every aspect of the pie, the whole piece of the puzzle. It puts it all together.
I know one of the things that we had talked about also a little bit before, even when we were just kind of practicing, you talked about children's voices, why they should be taken into consideration about the age from like 13 years and older. So let's talk about that because I have heard children who want their voices to be heard, but also parents want to hear from them to say, where do you really want to be, for example, live? Who do you want to live with? So can one of you address that as well?
That's a really tough topic, and one that we hear about pretty much every day. And there's a lot to that because, you know, you'll get some folks who will argue that kids really shouldn't get involved and you know, until they're 18 years old, they really shouldn't have a say. And then there's others that say, you know, when they're emotionally stable enough, can articulate their feelings and emotions intelligently, understand very thoroughly and clearly what their wants and desires are, that they should have that opportunity to express that. So it's a really controversial topic. It's one, you know, for me that I struggle with personally, you know, because of my son, and it's a tough call because you know, the kids again really don't want to be put in the middle. However, as they're growing up and feeling more independent, they do voice their opinions, maybe to one parent or both parents. And you know, I think it's the parent's responsibility to really take that into consideration because, you know, a kid's job when they're a kid is to be a kid and have fun and not have to worry about adult issues and conflicts between their parents. You know, it's about, you know, whose house am I sleeping over? Or, you know, what are we, you know, playing today, baseball or basketball? You know, not where am I going today, and I really don't feel like going to dad's, or I really don't feel like going to mom's, and you know, these are the reasons why. So it's a very tough topic. Now the courts are kind of funny here again because we're dealing with the law, and also too, this is where you talk about the gray when you had mentioned earlier black and white, because there's some judges that will allow a child to talk to them, and there's some judges that will not. And you know, so it, you know, then you get attorney ad litems involved, then you get guardian ad litems involved when there's issues that come up, and that becomes, it really becomes a recipe for, you know, disaster in my opinion. So it's a tough one. That's a real tough call. I would imagine, Roz, you know, you hear this all the time as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I agree, it's very tough. My own advice is that I think we should, parents should be willing to listen to children who express opinions, but the children should never be given the final say.
Absolutely.
So that they feel that their decision might hurt one parent or the other. It's better for the children emotionally and psychologically if they're told the adults have made this decision and ultimately at this point you're doing this and that. And if they protest, let that be heard and be considered. But there's a deep wounding if a child is given the opportunity to say, I want to be with dad, and then feeling the consequences of how does mom feel now about that? Did I hurt mom? And so there's less onus on them and less pressure on them if it comes from outside of them. But yes, if they're very outspoken about something, we do want to listen.
Yep.
We want to bring in mental health counselors and people who can talk to them and in the privacy getting sincere feelings about what's going on from children. It is so complicated, and that's why it's something that has to really be addressed in a very family-oriented way, because unfortunately too often parents are at odds, both vying for their kids, and they make it a popularity contest. And I always try to remind the parents that it's really about who is better able to take care of the children at this phase of the family life, which changes when the children are 4 and 14.
Absolutely.
It's totally different.
And I noticed even one of my clients was having a situation where she was really honestly trying to do best for the child, but it was taken that she was, or could I've seen it both sides, but that in this particular case she was brainwashing the child to say that I want to be with mom and not with dad. So I can see there's the gray area again, and there's the conflict, and once again the child is right in the middle. But like you said, Roz, at least let's hear from them, get their opinion, what they're feeling, and then still the adults make the decision. But it is such a gray area and a tough all the way around.
It is. And then you have things that come up when you again go into the court system where lawyers, you know, try to bring in some new, we can call them techniques, I guess. I'm not sure what to call them, but you know, like parental alienation and you know, different accusations that come into play, which really are just, you know, I think just wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I certainly believe that there are parents who alienate their children against the other parent, and the results are devastating. So again, it just depends on so many factors, and that's why it shouldn't be purely a legal decision. I think you really need to bring in some people who understand psychology
Mhm.
to be able to evaluate a lot of the situations going on and make decisions based on a more human effect of it all, because so many lives are at stake, and so many people can be hurt for so long. I don't think there's any way of creating a judicial system that can unravel these things.
Can't be cut dry, black or white, not at all.
No, unfortunately, there just has to be a better way, and I think part of the reason why we really want to get the word out about the website too is, there's so many good things that come about with masses of people, the voices of the people, and if enough people kind of get together and talk about maybe suggestive ways to do things maybe differently, more positively, then that kind of initiates some change. So maybe that's a good thing.
Yes. And learning from one another is
Exactly.
wonderful, because if you're in the trenches and you ask a question and someone else says, I've been there and I tried this and it
Right.
worked, that's really helpful. And so what you're doing is letting people feel supported, which is so wonderful.
Not alone. And not alone, for sure.
Right. Absolutely, 100%. Yeah.
So I wanted to make sure, once again, they have your website, and anything else that you'd want to talk about the website, and then I wanted to kind of pull it all together as far as a tip that you'd like to leave us with. So why don't we start with your website again?
The website is lifethroughdivorce.com, and it's spelled LIFETHRUDIVORCE. And it is really an all-inclusive resource for everything relative to divorce. As we know, divorce affects every aspect of your life, so we really want people to understand that this is a place for them to seek, advice and support and empathy, as you had mentioned before, and it's a place that they can feel very secure going to in the privacy of their own home. It's very personalized. It's extremely interactive. We link professional contributors with our community members, which is fantastic, and we make it a very reciprocal relationship, because for us it's really about getting that positive message out that you are not alone and you do have choices. Make the best choices that you can for your kids and your family, because divorce doesn't have to be a negative thing. It could actually be a very positive thing moving to the next chapter of your life.
Exactly.
So yeah, so do it in a great way, and involve people that are positive for you and also for your kids.
And is it a membership site, or anyone can just go on?
Anyone can go on. It's a free membership. We have a coupon code, Community LTD 2015, and it's a free membership. We just do that so we can keep people secure in the community. So you do register, but it's free.
Excellent, excellent. So what would you like to...
One of the experts contributing, and I'm very pleased to be able to share some of my articles and resources. So I know there are some excellent experts who are part of this community.
Absolutely, absolutely.
And what would you like to leave us with as far as our topic? Advice: are the courts equipped to make good decisions regarding this, or just in general, are they hurting and helping the children? So any advice for the parents if they're in this situation right now?
I think really, being a parent is really our job, and it's also a privilege. So for us, taking care of our children and supporting our children really is the most important thing. Whether, our relationships, don't continue on, the relationships with our children will be there forever. So that's a really important thing to remember. So whether you want to take your arguments and your anger and your frustration into a court system, and take that chance of having somebody make those decisions for your family, or do you really kind of take a step back and say, hey, let's be adults, because we are the adults, and let's talk about making the right decisions for our family, because whether you like it or not, you're still a family forever. So it's better to act like one, especially again when there's kids involved, and don't let people that really don't know who you are make decisions for you and the rest of your family.
Which is just like a black and white. They don't, and that's probably the biggest thing we've talked about before is it's not that they don't have a heart and don't care, but with the numbers of people going through the court system, they can't sit there and listen to every story. It's black and white. Here are the facts, and the decision is made. So it's certainly something to think about.
I loved what Perri said. I think that is just totally right on, and we're all united in wanting what's best for the families and finding any ways we can support people in getting that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, don't misunderstand. It's very difficult.
Yes.
I mean, it's very, very difficult, especially because there's a lot of emotions around this. And, but again, you have to take a step back and don't be selfish. You have to be selfless, again, and really do what's right. And that's very, very difficult for a lot of people. Michelle and I talk to people every day all over the world, and you'd be surprised how similar these feelings are, universally.
Yes.
And it's not just here in Florida or in New Jersey. This is literally a global situation, and divorce is a global epidemic. Our site is absolutely 100% global, which is fantastic. And we want people to know all across the country, all across the world. There's power in the people. Let's do the right thing and make it happen.
Well, ladies, I can't thank you enough for being on the show and really giving us some great insight about the court system, so people really stop and think about this. It's a serious situation, and I'm so thrilled that they have the resource to go onto your website and get all different types of information. So thank you so much, both of you, for being on the show today.
Yes.
Thank you for having us.
And Roz, I'd like to also let everyone know about you a little bit, and then we'll bring it all together.
Terrific. Well, I have a wealth of resources on all facets of divorce and parenting issues at childcentereddivorce.com. I have several courses and programs, audio coaching program, and my book, How Do I Tell the Kids About the Divorce? So at childcentereddivorce.com, you can access the resources and tools and support you need to help you through the way. And what do you have available for people who are coping with divorce issues?
Absolutely. I'm so thrilled to have so many great things here. So if you go to freshstartafterdivorce.com, you'll actually find the 4-week online course. It's actually a live online course for live support. And it will take you and get you prepared for life again. And it's a process that's actually called How to Emotionally Survive Divorce. So I'm big on communication and the skills and the different types of reports that you can do to really see why you do what you do, and then to understand why your ex does what they do, or he or she does, so that you can get along the best you can to be the role models for parents of your children and through co-parenting. And then also you can find Roz and I on the divorceview.com website, and that's where you'll find the latest show that we have. And we're also a podcast, and you'll find the link for our podcast there as well. And you'll get to see this video as many times as you'd like to listen to our great guests today. So thanks for everyone for tuning in, and we look forward to seeing you next week. In the meantime, have a great week.